I first heard about Theater Workshop Boston in the early 1970s, and it was in relation to the dance that I was doing, both professionally on stage and also with Minor White at MIT with Creative Audience. And I ran into a friend on the street who was a part of the very first Cosmic Celebration. And she said, we need choreographers for the planes of consciousness. And would you come to the first meeting? And I did, and something happened to me at that moment. I was drawn, there was a resonance, and I knew that this was going to be something I would be doing.
What happened when you first started working with that? Tell us a little more.
Perhaps all of my dance background and my interest in search through the religions of the world came together, because I had practiced and grew up with the Christian tradition. And then I was searching through yoga and Buddhism, but mostly reading. I hadn't had the experiences in many of these. And it went on beyond that later on. And the arts came together with this. My background in the arts, the visual arts, the performing arts, dance, expression, all came together in this with a sense of I can find myself and where I need to be going in my life through this performance, the beginning of this and through this tradition.
And tell us how this inspired new spiritual connections for you.
Spiritually, at that moment, I was not able to be in a particular tradition. And I also felt that each one had a common ground, and I didn't know what that was. And I had worked with different people in the religions, and especially at Boston University with Howard Thurman, Dr. Howard Thurman, who had been Martin Luther King's mentor during civil rights. And I ran the liturgical dance choir there. And mostly what we did was not Christian in its liturgical movements, but rather people in life and what they were going through. Man's search for meaning was one of the big services that we did. And this was human search for meaning in the Cosmic Celebration. And it was through traditions and later on through people in life and what they had been through and what they were going through. And it fit every part of me.
How did the Sufi universal worship that the Cosmic Celebration came out of, how was that meaningful to you?
Universal worship is what I was hoping that we would have around the world. My father was in Venezuela, living. I wanted to be a universal person and be connected with people from all countries. And I had done work with dance at different colleges and schools with Indian dance and with Thai classical dance. And in those areas, I really opened up to their traditions, to yoga. And I studied Raja Yoga very seriously in those days. And then Hatha Yoga. And the Hatha Yoga for me was out of the ancient traditions. It wasn't exercise. It was coming together, bringing myself together, parts of me that were apart, the whole sense of right and left, up and down. I went to retreats that Pir Vilayat gave. And those retreats just were wondrous to me. I could not believe so many people were a part of that tradition, and so many powerful people who had different religious backgrounds were there. And I felt that even though I felt like I was on the edge of it all, and wondering and waiting to see where I would fit in, that I was given roles by Safira, who was in charge of it, designed it with Pir Vilayat, and gave me my professional beginning in that. So that the years that I worked with the Cosmic Celebration afterwards, including different ones in Boston and the New York one at the Church of St. John the Divine, which was amazing with 400 people, that Sapir Vilayat was the core of this. He was the essence of the meaning of this, and Hazrat Inayat Khan.
And you also were very...
I soon became involved with the Omega Arts Network through Sapira and the Sufis, because the tradition was very strong at that time and very focused on the arts, and that they were responsible in Toronto for the World Symposium on Humanity Arts. And so I traveled there and helped to set up the art gallery there, and at the end of it, to help with the final performance with Odetta. We both worked for the final.
Odetta. Yes, and what happened? What was that about, that World Symposium?
There were people from all over the country and the world who were coming together to dialogue in 3 different locations, one Los Angeles, one London, and one Toronto. And they were bringing together the American Indians from our country to Canada to be with the Indians there. We were bringing together the top people in the spiritual world, in our spiritual field at that time.
As well as scientists and artists.
Oh yes, I already said that. Okay.
So that was another connection. And I remember also you were involved with Awakening, another production. You don't remember?
No, can you just give me, because
What?
I do remember one where there was an elevator, I think.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I have the notes from that still.
All right, so what did you do in Awakening? You helped me.
Yes, in Awakening, I was really asked to assist Sapphira, and I had been working with a way of looking and writing what was going on and giving feedback called creative audience, which I had learned and worked with Minor White, the photographer.
And who was Minor White?
Minor White was one of the great photographers of the last century, and he brought together, he taught at MIT when I assisted him, and the course was called Creative Audience, and it had to do with every inner image has an outer image and is awakened in the presence of light. So you need to bring the light within yourself, and every outer image is awakens the inner image. And so it has to do with the central core of light. And for me, God is light, God is love, love is light. And so there was a deep, deep sense of connection with both. And you really need a creative audience to bring out the actors and the material, the content.
And you did a lot of that work with us.
Yes, well, that was one of my focuses. Yes,
You
and
did that way back with Julie Portman's work
Right.
near the beginning. You
Right.
did it with Saphira's work later on.
and it's actually what I was doing and didn't know it in the earlier days when I was studying dance and when I worked at the chapel with Dr. Howard Thurman.
Yes.
So, and it's been my whole life. It is my life now, and I've had a long life. I'll just say that.
Great, and you were also involved with Sejeko, Voice of the Earth, in 1992. And we have footage of you
Oh, wonderful.
sitting behind Saphira after doing some creative audiencing when we were talking to the actors. So
Yes.
say everything I just said and then put it in your own words.
I was also involved with Sujeko in the early 1970s. And I guess,
No, that was in the early 1990s.
oh, really? All right, I'll start again.
Wait, let me just tell you. It was, instead of Columbus discovering America in 1992, was 1492, it was the 100th anniversary, or 200th or
200th.
something. We were honoring the Native American traditions. And it could be that you just came to a certain rehearsal and helped out.
Yeah, because I don't remember the
But
production.
you're,
Wish I
I
could.
knew you were in it because I see it in the footage.
In the back, there's a lot that I've forgotten in the meantime. So. Yes.
So you might just say something about Sejeko, Voice of the Earth, and Native American Bree, that's where we got the word.
Native American?
Bree was a language of Native Americans. You don't know that, but I'm
No.
telling you that.
I was also involved with Sujeko in the early 1990s, 92. And because I was very, not only interested in Native American, but because I have Mohawk background. I have Mohawk background.
In your
Yes, and so I've always had a yearning to be connected with American Indians, which I was in the Four Corners at one point, and especially with the Hopi.
So that was a creative audiencing experience, because you were giving us feedback.
Good. That was a good experience with creative audience. And I think that the creative audience approach for me has to do with bringing other people out, because you bring your energy and your light from your eyes and your ears and your body and everything to what's happening in the room, to an image, a photograph, a painting, a theater piece that's in progress. And it's the energy that enters that leaves the ego behind and allows a particular energy to come through that's presence. It's a sense of presence, and it does change the energy in the room. And when one person, whoever it is able to bring that through, the others receive it and the whole room changes. The whole auditorium changes. And I think that happened, especially with the many years of the Cosmic Celebration. For me, that was 10 years of work. I went on to other work afterwards and then lived in Thailand, worked in Vietnam, and all that I had before was brought forth in my work there. I performed in Thailand in pieces. I did that with books, bringing books to children, bringing books to life, and in Vietnam.
Acting. You brought books to life through enacting.
Through movement, yes. It's like telling the story where they're reading it in English, in bringing books to life. You're telling the story with your movement, and the children who are there have the chance to understand the words. And there were 2 nuns in Vietnam at one of the places that I did the Giving Tree, Shel Silverstein's Giving Tree, and I asked them to do it with me, which is what the theater people do too, and therapy. And the 2 nuns afterwards, one of them said, "I will never forget that book."
Beautiful.
And I think that happens with your play, and certainly it did for Mother Blood for me.
Tell us about your experience with Mother Blood and the updating version of it.
Yes, because I just recently worked with Mother Blood, and I worked with a wonderful, wonderful team with Julianne, who filmed it, Julianne Reynolds, and with you, and with other.
All right,
I can start that again.
So you worked with,
But lean back when you talk.